it's Ryan Thompson with Wagler Manufacturing. I'm here with Jeremy Wagler of Wagler Competition Products here in Odon, Indiana. Jeremy, you want to say hi for the folks?
Hey, good to see you guys.
Yep. Thanks for having us out. We've been hanging out all day. We're just doing a little shop tour, a little hanging out, getting to know you, seeing this awesome place that you've put together. You do a lot of stuff.
It's small, but we try to stay productive.
You got a lot of equipment here.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit, and for our viewers, I mean, how did you get into this? I mean, you told me a little bit, you started a repair shop?
Yeah, basically started off growing up on a dairy farm, so repairing stuff, farm equipment and stuff like that, and I always had a fascination to get a lawnmower and tear the engine apart, and never had any money to go buy parts, but we just clean everything, put it right back together. Then I got into little go-karts, so got into go-karts, playing with that, and then dirt bikes, and started a little S10 when I was in high school. We went to a vocational school. We got to build an engine our second year, so I built a small block 400, and then I put it down in an S10 and started drag racing back in 1999. I built it. 2000, I was a senior in high school, so went drag racing at the track that we actually purchased now. So one thing led to another, and guys locally needed stuff worked on, so at 19 I started my own repair facility. So I came out of high school and had a full-time job repairing trucks and cars, and did that for about 10-11 years, and always wanted to build parts. Like, as you're working on stuff, you see that, man, why'd they design it this way? Why wouldn't we make it work this way?
So for 10 years you were, and probably some of that background with your upbringing and probably not being able to get parts, you're seeing things parts, going, I could fix this, I could figure this out.
We worked on gas for the most part, and then in early 2000s the diesel Duramax started coming around, and the 7.3 Power Stroke, so a lot of the Amish crew trucks around here always needed repairs. So basically working with them, we installed a lot of Jasper engines, and so we wasn't building engines right then, we was just a repair facility. Got into more and more of that part, and then after 10-11 years of that, got burned out of repairs, so I turned the business over to Dad. Had a tow wrecker service and towing, turned it over to Dad. I went and worked for government for 3 or 4 years, and during that time I was able to gain enough cash flow to design my own cylinder head. With helps of Jeff Jones at One Way Performance, we designed a Duramax cylinder head, went to Brodex and got a Duramax cylinder head designed and repaired or built from brand new core box, thinking that was my first step back into business, and bought a Haas machine.
That's quite the step. We're gonna
just dove right
cylinder
in.
Head.
Yep. So long story short, started back Wagler Competition. Started it back in 2011-12 area. And we got cylinder heads going, bought some Rottler equipment, done all the valve jobs on all the heads there. We had Centroid doing all the porting. So we basically had a small little operation going, and from there it's taken off. So that's been 12 years ago now.
12 years.
And it's been from anything from billet blocks, billet heads, doing all kinds of crazy builds for truck and tractor pullers and drag racers. So I enjoy it.
Certainly, you have to get to here.
Yep. We do OEM rebuilds also for guys, but we try to focus mainly on the high performance stuff.
If I'm not mistaken, you kind of started with Duramax mostly.
Duramax is like our key, because we started off with
still is your cornerstone.
It is, yeah. Duramax has been the popular one, but we do a lot of Cummins builds and Ford builds, and all three main ones. So.
Are you still the Duramax guy? Is that what you
like? I like him. Yeah, I like him. But you've seen what we drove to lunch. We drove a Ford.
Yeah,
so I get made fun of a little bit, but the Ford 6.7, nothing wrong with that. But I've always loved anything with diesel and high performance. So that's our key thing here. We do a lot of pro stock tractor parts, intercoolers, anything that guys have problems with. They bring them to us, and then we try to problem solve and make it stronger, better.
Talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, for your background, and how did you, I mean, I know you've got people here, you guys are doing your own programming, you're designing parts.
Designing parts.
I mean, did you just pick that up?
We mainly, that's how it starts.
How'd you get through that?
That's how it starts. So on the connecting rod business, we basically bought out. We was using a company called R&R Connecting Rods out of Illinois, up close to Chicago. He sold out the steel division, and he called me one day and was like, "Hey, you're buying enough rods. Why don't you just take over the steel side? I'm moving to Florida. I'm going to build aluminum rods." So that's how it started off with these. But we've redesigned all these rods basically. SolidWorks, Mastercam. We got some design guys in here. We plastic print them first for clearance fitting on engines.
And I saw upstairs you had a 3D scanner plate.
Yeah,
so you're
we got
I mean, you guys are full reverse engineer. This
out
is
here in the middle of the cornfields of Indiana.
Middle of nowhere, but you're doing it.
Yes.
I mean, you're doing it.
So we bought a 3D scanner and scanning parts. We can scan a cylinder head and basically redesign that cylinder head right here in-house. So, but rods is, as you see out in the shop.
Yeah, they're beautiful work here. You got, I mean, this thing is. I'm a machine tool guy. This is nice.
A lot of work goes.
A lot of work
them.
in here. You can see it, but it's a beautiful piece. I mean, and you showed us, taking that from a forging
to
and all the operating. You guys have done all your own fixturing. I mean, you really are working through every step of the way and trying to automate as much as you can.
And we try to keep, every year, we try to keep on growing in production as far as making them easier, better. Every year you can see growth every year. So
and this
new technology.
Because we're talking about your design. You were showing me this because obviously the tongue and groove, because you can't do a cracked rod.
Yeah, fractured rods in the factory. We went away from that when we bought R&R. He was just using a round dowel, and we seen it chafing back and forth.
Yeah, and for those of us that don't, I mean, maybe explain to our viewers here, because you were saying you guys saw that a lot on the cap side. One of your failure modes, the wear things you would see is the cap shifting back and forth.
Caps that shift back and forth, and the best fix that we found was basically doing a tongue and groove deal. So it's a female and a male, and then it goes at an angle, so you can't rotate the cap. It only fits on one way, and it is tight. So like once it's on there, it's locked, you're torqued, and it can't like shift the cap back and forth any at all. A lot of times we would get them back in, and this surface you could actually see where the rod was twisting and the cap would move. You'd see wear marks on the side. So now with this setup, it's staying perfect.
Awesome.
So, but single pass honing, we've gained a lot of knowledge on that. It's just there's so many different ways a guy can build rods. If we was building them for the OE, I'm sure we would have to change our design as far as machining. But for the production that we do, it works perfect, and we're having really good success out of it. Thank you.
I mean, that's a great example. And I know you shared this one here, these lifters.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll let you explain on this thing, but I lift this thing up, and you hear it shake on the tolerances, how loose it was. And this is factory part.
So it's a factory, again, finding an OE issue. Customers started calling on the 2019 Cummins. Basically, they would hear a noise coming through the driver's side fender well, go to the dealer says there's nothing wrong with it. We originally pulled the valve cover, ready to adjust valves, the valve adjustment. They took the screw out of it, so there's no valve adjustment on the new Cummins. They're hydraulic. From there, we just bought a bunch of Cummins adjustable rocker arms from the 2009 or 18 and older, and we made a kit that drops in basically take I call them the guts of the hydraulic system. Take the guts out of the hydraulic. You put a solid plunger in here, put it all back together. We got Manton to make us some push rods, and it's back to adjustable, and you can set your lash at what you want. But basically, it's a terrible design flaw. Don't want to beat up the Cummins guys bad, but it's eating.
It's big manufacturing and tolerances. I mean, it's a different world.
But as you can see,
it's things that we all have to be aware of in this industry, especially when the applications matter. The applications you're building engines for, that your customers are coming for you, are not 350 horsepower diesel blocks.
No. And we're coming back to you guys for machining capabilities to be able to help us fix this. So basically, we went to Jessel. We designed a solid roller lifter now. So went to Jessel. One key thing that you can see between the factory has like a little straight edge right there, and that's rotating. So once it's losing hydraulic pressure, it's rotating back and forth, and as you can see on the camshaft, it just eats the lobes right off of it.
Yeah.
So that engine there is
20-30 thousandths below.
80,000 miles is all that engine had on it. 80,000. So, but again, that's kind of how our business started, and I like keeping it in that same groove. We're trying to find the flaws of engines that come out and fix them, and try to keep building them better and better. So taking a 300 horse engine and making our highest horsepower engine right now is 4,000 horsepower. Right,
4,000. Yeah, that's not. So that's where you end up going to things like this, right?
Much stronger rods.
Stuff. A lot more thought, a lot more care.
But we've broke a lot of parts in the process. So if you see vehicles out there with our decal on the front, and you see a ball of fire at the end of the pulling track or whatever, it's trying to find the weak points, and you find them at the pulling track or at the drag strip. So try to keep on making them stronger every time.
That's what I mean. As a mechanical engineer, that's what I love to hear.
That's what you do.
Like, that's what you do. Go and break stuff. That's the fun part of the job.
Yep.
How long have you been in business doing this type of work?
Since 2011.
2011,
so,
really here.
So 12 years.
And you're scaling like crazy right now. I mean, you're looking at a lot of stuff.
Booming.
What, for the people watching, what are some, maybe the biggest thing you've learned, or what do you look for when you're looking at finding work and deciding how to size the factory, deciding, who to hire? What do you, as a business owner, I mean, it's kind of like looking into the dark.
Yes.
But
yeah, you're juggling family life and work and how many hours do you want to put in, and does it really matter about the money, or is it all the customers that call and wanting parts? Like, do you keep growing your business to the point where those calls are all taken care of? Right now, we're not. Like, there's days we can't get all the calls returned. So. Right. Do I want to get bigger? That's questions you ask yourself every morning when you walk out
scaling
here. Yep.
When
what
you
size?
can.
We're like 20 guys here in this facility, and I feel like that's enough for one guy to try to keep managed. Takes enough time to keep everything rolling.
Yeah, it does. Certainly.
But,
and it's all you. I mean, like you said earlier today, you're like,
trying to,
you're still leading that whole charge, all 20 of them. So
I'm not doing a real great job
I don't know about that.
But that's part of it.
That's just humility. Talk about the drag strip a little bit. So, I mean, this is pretty unique. I mean, you go to shops, guys are doing stuff to varying levels, but you've got a drag strip and a school situation going on?
I had the opportunity to buy that drag strip that we was talking about. I was racing back in 2000, early 2000s. It was a brand new, the track was built in 97, so it's a fairly new facility. It went through a couple owners. As you know, drag strips, they usually change every 5 years, so it's not a moneymaker. Basically, I bought it in hopes of being able to build a school and like an educational center, because I didn't go to college, but I always thought, man, if I could have went to a trade school for what I wanted. I didn't want to do all the
be focused
English
on
and
something
math and all that stuff.
You wanted to be hands-on. You wanted to do.
I was a hands-on guy, so my goal was, let's get a school started up there to where kids can go there and go right to work instead of going to college. Not saying that's for everybody, because you have to go get.
I went to college, and I tell people that there's recordings of me saying, "Don't go if you don't know what you want to do," because
you need to be specialized. You don't want your doctor to not go to college, so you want him to go to college.
You want him to be there, but
But that was my goal, so I bought the racetrack, and within a year, got to asking around, like, how can we get a school going? And sure enough, met a friend of mine, and he turned me on to a education training center, and we ran welding. Started with welding, so basically, any age from 18 and above could come in and do welding classes, and then they'd get a degree and go get a job. That led into CNC machining, so they was coming into this shop at the beginning. Training in here. It just kept growing and growing. Now we're doing CDL. We got 3 semis up there, full-time guys training A and B now. Doing welding, getting ready. That was MIG welding. Now we're getting ready to start TIG welding in August, so it's getting ready to take off TIG welding. And then CNC machine is actually placed up there at the school. We do nursing. You can go get your GED.
No way.
Yeah, so a high school student doesn't have to go.
And have to finish all the way. GED.
GED.
That's fantastic.
So we have it right there. This year we graduated 308, I believe, people in 2022. So it went from a little idea. And within 2 years, it's
2 years. Yeah, that's
2
a lot.
years. It's went.
That's got to be huge. I mean, for the reward for that.
It is. Watching
and then
graduation.
For this community, I'm thinking the welding out here in the farmland. I mean,
coal mining.
Yeah, I mean, these are real skills that young people can learn and actually help their community, help themselves have a fulfilling career. I mean,
it's pretty awesome to be able to see that, basically you're helping guys get off of either welfare or no job or things like that. There's guys that come in that are making $10, $12 an hour.
Right.
They take a course for 8 weeks, especially the CDL thing.
Yeah.
They can leave there making $70,000 to $80,000 a year. CDLs are much needed thing.
It's a life-changing thing.
It
absolutely.
is. Yep.
I mean, we need those.
During graduation,
those are real, honest jobs that we need desperately as a country.
But one thing that I have struggled with, everything struggles, is getting people to adapt to learn about CNC machining. So we have to do more promoting and show people and kids in school, like, what is CNC machining, because you talk about it, they don't grasp that this part was CNC machined.
Right.
So I need to do more advertising and basically information, getting the information to the young kids and the people out there that would love to do this. They just don't understand it.
Well, I mean, we're all guilty of it. In America, the society we live in, you buy something, it shows
It's
up from
done.
Amazon that you're like, hey, there it is. They're done.
Don't even think about what it took.
You know,
to make that.
I didn't even realize until I went to engineering school, and you see it through working on things. You see it when you go to school, and the amount of stuff that goes into something, any one of these parts, and
it takes time,
sweating
energy,
the details
and
the understandings and the science and like you said, breaking a bunch of things and learning, constantly learning. You just don't grasp that until you go do it.
But that's one part of the school that was my main intentions, was getting someone in there to get CNC programming time. We got Mastercam up there. It's growing, but at a slow rate. The other stuff, the CDL things, I think it's an easier thing for people to see a job opportunity, because they're always, you go drive in any city, you see CDL drivers wanted everywhere. Who would have ever thought we'd buy a drag strip turned into school?
I think that's awesome. I mean,
we still have drag races. So we do have drag races.
Yeah, the gassers. The gassers were down here
this
today,
weekend.
I think.
Yep, they're coming this weekend. So basically, with drag race, we have a pulling track. I built a pulling track, so truck and tractor pulling is within 1,000 feet from it, and then motocross racing is out there too. So we have motorcycle racing, dirt track.
This place is
you can do it all if you want
engines, machines, school.
I always tell my kids they're growing up with a lot more than what I ever.
You're doing it all right here and giving it back to your community. And
trying to make it a good place to go enjoy the motorsports. So
a lot of the EPE stuff, it's educational. Trying to get people to understand and see some of these things you don't see every day in the industry, and CNC manufacturing has become a big part. Obviously, Rottler's being a part of that. What would you say is the biggest challenge, or what was the biggest challenge for you? I know I saw a Bridgeport out here. Everybody learns on a Bridgeport. Today, you may or may not ever learn on a Bridgeport.
No,
I mean,
I think
you
a
kind
lot
of
of
get dropped on a Haas VF2 or a Rottler EM69 ATC, and it's just go.
I think a lot of it comes down to is not being rushed into something. So like, you got to take the time to learn a little about machining, but anymore a lot about Mastercam and the programming side. So how are you going to fixture that part? That's a lot of the, that's almost as much as knowing how to machine. You got to know how to hold that part.
There's an old quote that I always loved, and it was, machining parts is easy, holding on to them is the hard.
It can be hard, especially when it's 5 axis and it's rotating. So,
I think you're absolutely right.
And one thing you can't beat is experience. Right. So if you can find guys that have experience in the CNC world and get them trained up, like we're buying, we bought the scanner this year. We never dreamed that we would buy a 3D scanner to scan engine parts, to be able to machine engine parts. So it just keeps growing. Basic machining, or the want to, if you want to make something, get on a Bridgeport, start machining, and then
start making chips.
Get it,
I think finding that mentorship role. I mean, I had that when I started, and I had a couple of mentors with manufacturing, machining, and if I hadn't had that, I mean,
where would you be today?
I got a 4-degree in mechanical engineering. You're not learning.
You're not going to learn that no.
And luckily, I took my first job, and it was special projects fabrication, and I had that mentorship where it's like, okay, we can go and make parts.
And even in the machining at colleges, and I'm not disgrading any of the colleges, but basically you still don't have that experience.
No.
The experience is so much more than just going to school and getting a degree. You can't go out and just say, I'm a machinist.
100%.
You're a beginner machinist, and that basically you're willing to learn. That's one of the things when I get kids coming out of college. We hire several of them. Vincennes University is a good college. They teach a good program, but they're not ready to go make all these custom parts.
No.
Baby steps.
You start. I always tell people, I've taught multiple people, my employees back at Rottler, and how to CNC machine, and it's a block with 4 holes, and that's center drill.
And it takes time, and I'm not the expert. We got guys out here that are really good at it.
Everybody starts there, but you step, and it's fun. It's very. I always thought it was rewarding. Obviously, you have to. Otherwise, you wouldn't be making all these things.
We keep on
advancing
and trying to, like you said, automation is a big thing right now. Getting cobots attached to the machines so you can keep parts going day and night.
They're the real deal here. He's talking. We showed up this morning. He goes, I'm getting a horizontal, and I want a cobot over here. I mean,
hopefully we can keep it growing. That's my goal.
I was like, all right, this is a place we're going to be here all day. So.
Didn't imagine that pulling into a little shop out.
No, you got it real humble on the outside too, and you go,
signs,
and then you undersell it too. You're a good dude. You undersell it, and you walk in. I'm going, wait a minute. You say you want to go upstairs to the conference room? I'm like, no, I want to go look at the machine.
Get the machining side. But like I said, we're still small, and we enjoy what we're doing. So that's the biggest part. So as long as we can keep doing that and making quality parts going out the door every day, I think we'll stay in business for a long time.
I hope you can, because we can help each other out and keep doing more of this. Well, we'll wrap it up. I mean, been an honor. Thank you so much. Thanks for doing this video. Check out Wagler Competition Products. I mean, Jeremy's doing a great job. I mean, he's got a lot of cool stuff, and we'll do another one. All right.
Diesel power, big part of engine performance. Expo, Lake, we've assembled another panel. Of course, Chris Straub is always stealing the show when we're here.
Makes life easier for us. Keep going, Chris. But Cass Choate, welcome back. Chuck Lynch, welcome back. And we're going to delve into something that's kind of you have been involved with recently.
Oh yeah, so I mean, Jeremy Wagler does a great job with the diesel stuff, and Jeremy and Chuck are good buddies. And so this past fall, we went and visited. When I came and visited Cass, we played a little bit of some diesel stuff there. We've still got to work on that. This projectile thing, he's got something there. It's kind of neat because you have a show. Talk about your show real quick.
Yeah, so it's called Diesel Masters, which is fitting, I guess, for this bit. But basically, it's a show that what generally customers had issue with. They send us a truck, and then we'll take something and we'll find out what the problem with it is and diagnose it, but then try to make it educational and fun at the same time, which it's kind of where Mythbusters meets Orange County Choppers, except nobody's throwing anything, and if they are, there's generally gunpowder behind it. Something like that.
Yeah. So we're working on something for that, on that idea.
And where do we see that?
And Chuck is, so you can definitely see that on our Choate Engineering Performance page on YouTube. You can go to our channel, and we've got a couple episodes up now. And actually, Chuck is heavily involved in that, and there's some episodes with him blowing up some stuff too. So you can entertain yourself while educating as well.
There you go, another YouTube subscribe. I think I saw one of the pilot episodes.
Yeah.
Frankly, I'm super excited that that's going well.
So anyway, working with Chuck on this to get ready, so make sure we can do it right when we come to blowing things up. We worked with Jeremy to do a test on some piston rings. So of course Jeremy's building all these crazy engines and taking a stock engine, a stock short block, changing out just like the rods and some other stuff, and it is kind of nuts. You guys have been telling me this for years, but it is insane to actually be there and watch them just add fuel and just watch the power just go, not little bits, it's just like jump, 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 just incredible chunks of power. So it was back in November, I think it was.
Right.
Yeah, we went and hooked up a JTEC blow-by meter, so it's a flow meter, so you can see how much air is going into the crankcase, like what's going past the piston rings. So we took the stock piston ring setup and ran it at different power levels, from like stock all the way to like 900 horsepower. Measured the blow-by. Then took the whole engine apart. All we did was swap the second ring and went from the standard, conventional gap second ring and put in a gapless second and put it back together. And it cut the blow-by in half. But it picked up like 40 horsepower at that 800 horsepower tune-up. And I fell out of my chair. One, again, when that thing makes 800 horsepower, it's making like 1,500 something.
Right, at 62 pulls, and it made up 1,600 foot-pounds, and right at the 1,000 horsepower mark.
Yeah.
And this is a street engine that's, calibration-wise and whatnot, it can be street and meet emissions or whatever, or you can take it all the way to that extreme on that same build.
It is insane, Joe, to feel the ground shaking when you have 1,600 foot-pounds. The turbo sound is like, what the hell? It is incredible. I mean, it's not top fuel, but it's pretty damn close.
Well, but that's the difference, is that it's practical horsepower.
Right.
Top fuel, which I love and I live around, and it's amazing, and it brings in 30,000 people to watch 11 or 12,000 horsepower accelerate to 1,000 feet in less than 3.7 seconds. But it's pretty much one and done. What you guys are doing is it's working power. It's power you can apply. You can drive it. You can go to the grocery store. You can tow endless weight, and that's what's amazing. And in previous conversations, Cass, like you've indicated that you feel like we're still on the early part of the learning curve of what's possible, as we're still finding weak links in the chain.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are coming about that I've already seen patents that have been filed for. Very interesting. Some of the concepts is that the entire secret sauce to the diesel engine is the injection of the spray pattern and the relationship with the combustion bowl. Timing is everything, and it's we went from a fixed vane turbocharger to a variable geometry turbo, and that was a world of difference in throttle response. But one of the new patents that has, and I say it new, it's not necessarily new in the way that it's been filed for, but no one has moved on it yet, and that is a variable pitch or variable spray pattern injector, so that we can actually target the bowl in different crank angles and still maintain the relationship of the contact area between the injector spray pattern and the combustion bowl itself on a piston. So that in and of itself is going to create tremendous amounts of efficiency, because 750 degrees is what the your emissions starts to break down at that point in time. It has to reach those temperatures. Being able to control the injection spray pattern, we can control heat. There's certain areas, the further we get outside of the combustion bowl, the hydrocarbons now start to creep in, because the heat is starting to dissipate a little bit. So there's a lot of technology that is still left undetermined. There's a lot left on the table.
That's it. Because that's one thing we saw as we added fuel. We never changed the size of the injector.
Right.
So how do you add more fuel? You can only change both of us, right? Pretty much, right? So when we got up there to that 1,000 horsepower tune-up, we were having to start the injection sooner, back to the timing.
That's right.
And what you could see with the JTEC blow-by meter was that blow-by went up.
Right.
Regardless if it was gapless or conventional gap, both of them went up. Now that delta was still the same, but blow-by increased. Well, why did blow-by increase? It's because we were putting fuel directly on the cylinder wall now. It's not going into the combustion bowl on the piston. It's going onto the cylinder wall, which is washing away the oil, which is losing the seal, which I talk about all the time. It's my favorite topic in the whole wide world, right? I know everyone's tired and bored of it, but I'm not tired and bored of it. And in fact, when you see things like this, it just reiterates how incredibly important it is. In the last roundtable, Billy was saying how engines are not a just collection of parts. They're a system. And its ring seal is a system. It's the ring, it's the hone, it's the piston, the fuel timing, in this case, is a huge contributor to that.
It would be the equivalent of saying, if we were still running as far as changing our ignition timing with the aid of computers now, to going back to the old days with a distributor that we could set the timing at one place. We are able to change that. Now that's a whole other world that we've not really tapped into yet, but that's the equivalent of it's just as important to be able to change the injection timing as it is to be able to change the spray pattern and its geometry and its shape and when it happens. That's when you're fine tuning now, and we know that from other engines and different things that we do. Once we start, there's a whole nother table of like a whole nother timing table that's not even been tapped into.
Right.
So I think that's going to be a big change for us, and as things progress and technology increases, we'll be able to see the benefits of that.
Yeah, just to jump back a little bit, because we are midpoint in there. Okay, we used to have one big injection pulse, and that's your diesel engines that you could hear 3 blocks away, clack, 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 because they're compressing the air, one big pulse, boom. Now you take a look at what split shot injections, 7 injection pulses per compression stroke. So you get your warming pulse and all of these things that are happening, keep the piston velocity high, so we're bringing all these injection pulses in, but they're all happening in the same hemisphere of the combustion chamber. And then now I'm moving, like if you ever look at diesel pistons, you got that dish, that's the part that's moving around. So sometimes I'm spraying there where I want to be, sometimes I'm spraying against the wall and washing the cylinder wall down. But if you can get variation to where it's actually spraying that pattern then now you've really achieved a lot. And again, that the whole timing table that's not being tapped right now. And, you know, that's quite honestly to carry over into the direct injected gas world, because the engine parts and components are getting much, much closer. That's the problem that they had with direct injection years ago. Mitsubishi did a lot of testing, and NOx was the problem. It goes back, the emissions are high, NOx is an issue. So if that would be an area that they could really fine tune and clean up.
Yeah.
So.
You know, and coming from the gas world, you know, I got into doing diesel camshafts probably, now I guess it's been 10, 11 years ago. But, you know, I had some pushback from the diesel world and stuff and said, you know, what's that, you know, redneck from Tennessee? No, he comes from the gas world. Well, you know, they're both air pumps. The diesel's just in constant detonation, okay? They both need air and they both need fuel. And in looking at it, you know, to me, the valve events is what's the most important thing as far as the camshaft timing and stuff. So in developing the camshafts and stuff that I have for the Duramax, the Strokes, and the Cummins and stuff, and I'll take my Duramax camshaft, for instance, and stuff, it's smaller than the OEM camshaft, okay? It's smaller duration-wise, a little bit smaller lift, but it has a totally different valve event pattern and stuff. That camshaft in a bone stock Duramax is 70 horsepower and 180 foot-pound average. That's not peak gain, that's average as far as that goes. Then it spools the turbo 600 to 700 RPM quicker. It also gets better fuel mileage. And the diesel world to me is the perfect crate motor. If you're not changing the stroke, you know, I deal with big block Chevrolets, is it 396 inches or is it 750 inches, okay? In the diesel world, you're not really changing the RPM range. Generally, 95% of the time, I'm saying you're not even changing stroke. So it is the perfect crate motor. I have hot shot customers that have got hot shot, that build hot shot trucks for guys hauling freight. They use that Duramax camshaft. I also have customers that use that and pull trucks and drag strips and Winalon championships. Same camshaft, just more fuel, more boost.
Yeah, that's what's amazing about these engines is they're so overbuilt for what people use them for. You know.
Well, I've been telling you all along that diesel's better, but you won't listen.
I'm catching on, Cass. I'm catching on. You know. So anyway, we could go on all day about this because it is pretty freaking cool. But we're not done yet. So next up, we have a video with Matt Hussey doing some sleeving on a diesel engine.
What a day, what a day, what a day. My brain is swollen. I've learned so much today. They told us, don't start cars. We are not going to listen.